I just wanted to make a quick little video theorizing a possible different option for Square to take in 7.0, and also potential jobs we might get. I doubt any of this will happen, but it's fun to imagine in Theorycraft. As of Endwalker, Final Fantasy XIV has 19 jobs across the Holy Trinity. It's an even 20 if we count Blue Mage though. While I am a fan of limited jobs and want to get Beastmaster as a limited job, or at least more Blue Mage specific content, that however is for another topic. This video is going to focus on some of the issues 14 has with its gear, and how whatever the next expansion is could alleviate that. Gearing has other issues beyond this, and I'll likely make another video about all of my complaints in the future. First, the issue. Gearing in this game is a pain in the neck for how little value it brings. For Savage, it's not that big of a deal. The newest crafted gear will get you to at least the minimum item level for the whole Savage tier. Whether you buy it or craft it yourself, it doesn't matter. Although your parcels will look worse if you're starting a few weeks late. However, that's more of a mentality issue, and numbers alone not providing the full picture and less of bad design. And because the crafted gear of the third tier is better than the BIS of the second tier, and the second tier's crafted is better than the first tier's BIS, you only need BIS for two reasons. Those reasons are content that will always be synced, i.e. Ultimate or Criterion Savage, and the other reason is that the third tier BIS can carry you through most of the MSQ of the following expansion. That being said, playing off jobs in Ultimate can be difficult, let alone off rolls. And the more jobs we add, the harder it's going to get. At least in Endwalker, the relics are easy to farm and are comparable to the Savage weapons for a measly 3,000 uncapped tomes. Though when those tomes cycle out, I wonder how it's going to affect the relics. But if I'm looking to swap from one role to another for any number of reasons, including, but not limited to, playing with non-static friends, being a PF warrior, or a team comp needing to squeeze out a little bit more damage, there are so many hurdles you have to account for. Each floor of Savage drops one book and 2 chests worth of loot that I have to outroll the 7 other people in the party, and buying items outright taking anywhere between 1 to 2 months. And if I need tome gear, I can only get 450 a week, with gear costing anywhere between 375 and 825. And upgrading the tome gear requires materials that come from Savage, or doing the expansion's alliance raids, but the newest raid is, you guessed it, weekly locked for the necessary currency. Oh, and by the way, the Savage tier is weekly locked until the last 7-ish weeks before the next raid tier even comes out. Now that we know why adding more jobs will further exacerbate the problem, how can we, and by that I mean Square, solve this? This is likely not the most original idea I've ever had, but they could give every job a secondary set of skills to use the same gear and change their role. Some examples would be like Paladin becoming a new shield healer that has Holy Spirit as their primary damage dealing ability, and Confiteor becomes their dot, etc, etc. Or maybe White Mage sacrifices all of their healing to become effectively a Geomancer, and they get all sorts of earth, water, and air magic, like pre-Shadowbringers. If this has your creative juices flowing, give me some of your ideas down below in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And they can make the main stats of equipment change based on your role, and make direct hit, tenacity, and piety on gear a roll stat, so it just becomes whichever of those is for your current role. Sure, it'd not be best for DPS with direct hit gear to swap to healer, but just having max eye level gear would be an improvement over what we currently have, while making healer gear with piety be usable if you're playing as a red DPS. Yes, I understand reworking all 19 jobs to get an optional role is a lot of work, even with reusing a handful of skills, so that idea is probably a pipe dream. So what jobs might we get? We will probably get another melee that shares left side with Ninja, since that's the reason Reaper shares gear with Dragoon. That leaves us with one other job. My guess is it will probably be a ranged Fizz or a caster. Ranged Fizz is probably the more likely of the two. But the Summoner rework left a hole in the casters where we don't have a dot mage anymore. So I'm just going to pretend it's a new caster, and you can't stop me. Mwahaha! So, assuming it's melee, and fingers crossed for caster, what kind of weapons can these new jobs use? I have a couple ideas for the melee. Scouting gear makes it a dex job, so we could get more finesse weapons, meaning we could get nunchucks. Maybe like a 3-section staff that can break into nunchucks or whatever, so you could have a long staff as the default for AoEs, and then have phases where it breaks up into a pair of nunchucks for rapid strikes. guns sold separately. The other job is probably even more of a hopium, because it will share a bit of visual identity to Summoner, but I would love to get a Puppeteer as a caster. I'm thinking something between Lulu from Final Fantasy X and Kankuro from Naruto. The spells cast come from the puppet, but with a focus on damage over time. This would be the perfect excuse to give them the unique mechanic of moving while casting, like a Barded Machinist can in PvP, which means it would be a less mobile ranged Fizz with a magical theme. Well, what do you guys think? Am I crazy? Well, I mean, in regards to this topic.